The sky above the Varelian colony was once blue and full of promise. Now it was covered with black smoke and the distant glow of burning fields. The war had ended 2 months ago, but peace had not returned. The treaty signed between the Varelians and the Galactic Union, including Earth, was broken before it even took effect. The colony of Tlora 5, once a place of learning and beauty, had become a wasteland. Starvation spread faster than any disease. The strong took from the weak. Entire villages were left empty. Many Varelians fled into the deep jungles to survive. Others tried to steal food from abandoned military camps. Few succeeded. Most did not return. In one of the ruined outskirts, a young Varelian mother named Relin hid inside an old storage shelter with her son, Scifi, who was no more than 6 cycles old. His skin, normally a healthy silver blue, was pale and dry. His breathing was shallow. A low fever burned inside his small body. Riallen sat beside him, wrapping her arms tightly around his fragile form. Her own body was weak. She hadn't eaten in 2 days, but she didn't care. She whispered into his ear, trying to keep him calm, trying not to cry. She had heard a rumor from a fleeing trader. A human starship had been seen above the jungle region, dropping supplies for neutral survivors. A Terran ship called the Horizon Flame. It was commanded by a man named Captain Adrian Voss, a well-known human soldier who had once fought in the Great War against her kind. But Relin didn't care about the past. She didn't care that humans were once enemies. All she cared about was her son. That night, she made a decision. She tied Scifi to her back with cloth, wrapped herself in a dark cloak, and began the journey toward the jungle edge toward where the human ship was. Last seen, Captain Adrian Voss stood inside the Horizon Flames command center, staring at the map on the holoscreen. His ship hovered silently in low orbit over Tlora 5. Below them, thousands of Varelians suffered. Earth Command had given strict orders: do not intervene. Provide basic aid only to non-combatants. Do not take in refugees. Remain neutral. Yay! Hated those words. Adrian was a soldier, but more than that, he was a human. He believed in mercy. He believed that children should not starve just because of politics. Captain, said his first officer, Lieutenant Hannah Joe, walking in with a report. Another request from the surface: a Varelian medic asking for antibiotics. And, sir, something strange. One of the cargo drones hasn't returned. Its beacon was triggered near the jungle border. Adrian raised an eyebrow. Send a team. Could be scavengers again. Make sure they're not hurt. By morning, Riallen had reached the open drop site. The jungle opened into a wide clearing, where cargo crates sat under the sun. They had Earth's symbol on them, a blue and white globe. She had barely touched the crate when the sound of engines echoed above. A small Terran hovercraft descended rapidly, kicking up dust. Riallen shielded her eyes. Her heart raced. She did not run, for humans stepped out, armed, alert. The lead soldier approached her slowly. Don't move, he said in a firm but calm voice. Identify yourself. I am Riallen, she said, voice trembling. I seek help. My son, he's dying. Please. The soldier looked at the bundle on her back. The boy didn't move. The man tapped his cum. We found a Varelian female and a child. No signs of aggression. Requesting orders. A pause. Then, bring them in. Carefully. Adrian stood beside the medbay door, watching as human doctors worked quickly. They hooked Scifi up to machines, scanned his body, and injected medication. Riallen knelt nearby, her eyes wide with worry. After a long hour, one of the doctors came over. He's stable, he said. Severe dehydration, malnutrition, infection in the lungs. We're treating him, but he needs rest and time. Adrian nodded, then he stepped into the room. Riallen stood slowly. She was taller than most human women, with long, dark braids and glowing silver eyes. She looked strong, but her hands were shaking. You're the captain? She asked. I am, Adrian replied. I have nothing to give you, she said. Voice low, no credits, no food, no services. But I offer myself. My time, my labor, my life, anything. Just don't let my son die. Adrian's expression did not change, but inside he was surprised. No, shaken. You don't have to offer. Yourself, he said firmly. You're safe here. Your son is safe. You don't ask for payment to help the innocent. Reelan looked at him with disbelief. But why? Because we're human, Adrian said. And no child should die just because the galaxy forgot them. That night, Reelan sat quietly beside her sleeping child in the medbay. She stared through the window, watching stars blink in the black sky. For the first time in weeks, she felt warmth. Not from blankets or food, but from hope. She did not know if this human captain would keep his promise. She did not know if Earth, Command, would let her stay. But tonight she believed that someone still cared. The medbay of the Horizon Flame was quiet, except for the soft beeping of machines. Reelan sat beside the bed, watching her son's chest rise and fall. His fever had gone down, and his skin was no longer cold. A small light of life had returned to his face. She did not know how to feel. Relief, yes, but also fear. What would happen next, eh? The human captain had saved them without asking anything in return. But Reelan had lived long enough to know that kindness often came with hidden costs. The door opened, and Captain Adrian Voss entered. He wore a clean, dark uniform and carried a small data pad. His face was calm but serious. How is he? He asked, nodding toward Scifi. He is better, Reelan said. You have my thanks, Captain. I do not know how to repay you. Don't need to, Adrian replied. She stood up slowly, her hands clenched together. I need to speak honestly. In my culture, when someone saves your child, you must repay them. With work. With life. Even with your body if needed. Adrian raised a hand. Stop. Reelan blinked, confused. Stop. I understand your customs, he said gently, but this is not how we do things on my ship. You're a guest, not a prisoner. You're not here to be treated like a thing. She looked down, ashamed. Then why help me? Why risk your career? My people were your enemies. Adrian took a breath. Yes, the Varians fought Earth in the last war. But not every Varelian is my enemy. I served in that war. I saw real enemies. You're a mother trying to save her child.
Nice.
That's not something I can ignore. Reelan was silent. No one had ever spoken to her like this. It's not even the leaders of her own kind. Later that day, Reelan walked through the lower deck with permission. The ship was large, clean metal halls, blinking lights and quiet humming sounds. As she saw human crew members working in pairs, checking wires and repairing systems. Some looked at her with curiosity, but none were cruel. In the dining area, a young engineer named Miles Carter offered her a warm meal. It was simple vegetable stew and water, but it was the first real food she had eaten in days. You're the Varelian woman, right? Miles asked kindly. Yes, my name is Reelan. Miles, welcome aboard. You can sit with us if you like. She hesitated, but then sat beside him. A few others joined the table. They asked about her world, her son, and the broken treaty. She answered carefully. There was still pain in her voice, but she did not hide it. One woman, chief medic, Arya Juno, said, You're brave for making it through that jungle with a sick child. Most wouldn't survive. Reelan gave a small smile. I didn't do it because I'm brave. I did it because I had no choice. On the bridge, Adrian stood with his officers. A message had arrived from Earth's command. It was short and clear. Do not house alien refugees. Release any Varelian survivors to local relief zones. Do not bring them into Earth-controlled space. Hannah Jo frowned. You're going to shut us down for this. Helping one child might be allowed. But keeping her here? That's against protocol. I know, Adrian said. But if we send her back, she and the boy won't survive. The Loyalists are hunting survivors. What's the plan then? We stall.
Are we say?
The boy is still under treatment. We buy time. That night, Reelan stood outside the medbay, watching the stars through a viewing window. She heard soft footsteps. Adrian walked up beside her, holding 2 small mugs. He offered her one. It's tea, he said. calms the nerves. She accepted it and sipped carefully. The taste was strange but comforting. Your people? They do not trust us, she said. Double quotes, no. But not all humans agree with Earth Command. Either, Adrian replied. A captain has to follow orders, but a man still has to follow his heart. She looked at him. You risk much for a stranger? Adrian nodded. I've seen war. I've seen innocent people turned into enemies because leaders were afraid. But on this ship, I decide who gets saved. There was a pause. Then Rialin asked quietly, and if your leaders order you to give me up, I'll fight it. He said, I can't promise what will happen, but I'll fight. Rialina's voice trembled. I came to you ready to give up everything. I thought I'd have to sell myself just to buy another day for my child. But you didn't ask for anything. You didn't take advantage. Adrian looked out the window. We don't trade in lives. Not anymore. Not on my ship. She nodded slowly. Then I offer you something else, my skills. I was a technician before the war. I can repair systems, translate Varelian tech. That is how I repay your kindness. Adrian smiled slightly. Now that is something I can accept. Back in the med bay, Sevi opened his eyes for the first time in days. Rialin rushed to his side. He looked at her weakly, then whispered, Mama, the stars are so close. She kissed his forehead, tears in her eyes. Yes, my child. 3 days passed on the horizon flame. Rialin stayed by her son's side every hour. The human doctors gave him medicine, fluids, and gentle care. Slowly, he began to speak, eat, and smile again. Rialin felt something new growing in her. Heart, something she had lost long ago. Hope. She didn't feel like a burden anymore. She had begun helping in small ways. She cleaned tools in the medbay, translated Varelian writing found in old wreckage, and repaired a damaged food processor. In the lower deck, the crew, at first quiet around her, now nodded in greeting. Some even smiled. Still, there was one thing Rialin didn't know: her future. One evening, as she was finishing her translation work in the ship's tech lab, Captain Adrian Voss entered. You've been busy, he said, watching her fingers move across the glowing screen. I like helping, she said softly. It keeps my mind calm. You're doing good work, Adrian added. The files you translated revealed some buried communication towers. We're sending a team to recover them. Rialin turned to him. Captain, I have a question. When my son fully recovers, what will happen to us? Adrian looked at her for a long moment. Then he sat down across from her. I want to protect you, he said simply. But Earth Command has rules. You're not allowed to stay on a Terran vessel. She swallowed hard. Then we will be sent back to the surface. And if I can stop it, he said firmly. I've requested an exception. I'm waiting for their answer. But I won't lie to you, it doesn't look good. Her voice cracked. If they force you, will you obey them? Adrian looked her straight in the eyes. I'm a captain. I took an oath to follow command. But I'm also a man. I won't throw a mother and child into danger to keep a rule. Rialin blinked. You would risk your position, your career? I've already risked it, he said. You and Sevi are worth it. Meanwhile, in the command center, Lieutenant Hannah Jo was reviewing incoming transmissions when a red alert flashed across her screen. Incoming ship, she announced. Varelian, Loyalist signature, small vessel. Speed suggests a scout. Adrian entered the bridge, put it on screen. The image appeared, a sleek, dark ship with sharp curves and glowing red engines. A message followed, to the human ship Horizon Flame. You are harboring a known traitor and child. Surrender them at once, or face action. The crew fell silent. Hannah spoke first. They tracked her. Somehow, they know she's here. Adrian stood tall. We're not handing anyone over. In the medbay, Rialin held her son's hand as lights flickered. A soft voice came over the intercom. Rialin, please report to the captain's quarters. She arrived quickly. Adrian stood there with Hannah beside him. He looked tired, but calm. They found you, he said. Varelian loyalists are demanding we surrender you and your child. She turned pale. If you don't, will they attack? Maybe, Hannah answered. They're trying to scare us. I'll go, Rielan said suddenly. I don't want your people hurt. No, Adrian said sharply. You're under my protection. I won't let them take you. But your orders, my orders, don't matter now, he replied. Only what's right. He turned to Hannah. Raise shields. Prepare the crew. We're not giving in. Tension filled the ship. The horizon flame stood its ground, floating, like a watchful guardian above the burning planet. The loyalist ship hovered at a distance, sending threat after threat. Adrian paced the bridge. He sent a message back to Earth Command, refusing to surrender non-combatant refugees. We'll defend, if fired upon. Request immediate legal support or rescue. Then he looked at his crew. If anyone disagrees with this decision, speak now, he said. No one spoke. Hannah gave a small nod. We stand with you, Captain. Hours passed, but the enemy ship never fired. Finally, it pulled back and disappeared into warp space. A cheer rose across the bridge. Adrian sighed in relief. They were testing us, Hannah added. But next time, they may come in force. He nodded. Then we'll be ready. That night, Rielan stood outside the medbay again, looking through the same glass window at the stars. Adrian joined her. You were willing to go back, he said. I didn't want to bring war to your people, she replied. You have. Done too much for me already. Shouldn't have to carry that weight, Adrian said. You deserve peace. Your son deserves a future. Rielan looked up at the stars. You could have followed orders, but you chose to protect us. Adrian gave a quiet smile. Sometimes being human means breaking the rules to do the right thing. She turned to him and said softly, Then I will stay and help this ship. As long as you'll let me, I won't run again. You don't have to, Adrian replied. You're safe here. You've earned your place. Back in the medbay, Scifi slept peacefully, his face calm, his breathing strong. Rielan looked at him and thought of everything she had gone through. She had crossed jungles, escaped war, faced fear. It's been offered everything she had to a stranger. And that stranger. Human had given her more than. Days passed on the horizon flame. Life returned to a steady rhythm. Rielan helped with repairs on the lower decks, working beside engineers. She cleaned fuel pipes, fixed broken panels, and even taught the crew how to read old Varelian codes. Left behind in abandoned tech, the crew began calling her Tech Whisperer. It made her smile. Scifi was much stronger now. He ran in the medbay with quiet laughter and even learned a few human words. His favorite was Captain. Every time Adrian Voss visited, Boy would sit up and say it with a smile. But peace never lasted long in space. One morning, alarms rang across the ship. Red lights flashed, and the loudspeaker echoed through the halls. Stations. Incoming pirate vessel, known class no, response to hails. Rielan froze in the hallway. She looked down as Scifi grabbed her hand tightly. Adrian stood on the bridge, his eyes focused on the screen. A large pirate cruiser appeared, a black ship with jagged wings and dozens of weapon turrets. It wasn't a Varelian ship. It was something. Worse Merktech raiders. They attacked any ship they found, stealing supplies, kidnapping people, and leaving only destruction. Weapons online, Hannah Jo said. They're powering up missiles, ray shields. Return fire only if they shoot first, Adrian ordered. A moment later, the pirate ship launched a blast toward the horizon flame. Direct hit shields holding, Hannah shouted. Return fire. Target engines only. Don't destroy them unless... We have no choice, Adrian said calmly. In the lower decks, Rielan brought Scifi to the emergency shelter room. She saw crew members rushing in armor suits, carrying weapons. The ship shook from another impact. Suddenly the lights flickered. An explosion rocked the corridor. One of the power conduits blew out, sending sparks and smoke into the air. Young Nanette, engineer, cried for help, trapped under metal pipes. Without thinking, Rielan pushed Scifi into the shelter and rushed back. She pulled hard, lifting the metal using a damaged pipe as leverage. 2 other crew members joined her, and they freed the man. "Thank you," injured engineer gasped. "You're welcome," Rielan said, coughing from the smoke. Back on the bridge, Adrian received a report. "Power grid in Sector 3 failing, minor injuries reported," Hannah said. "But the crew's handling it? Rielan helped rescue someone." Adrian raised his eyebrows. "She's everywhere, isn't she?" "She's earning her place," Hannah said with a half-smile. Adrian turned back to the battle. The Horizon Flame fired 2 torpedoes. Both struck the pirate ship's thrusters. Flames burst from its side. "They're trying to escape," crewmen shouted. "Let them go," Adrian said. "No need to kill. We've sent a message." The pirate ship limped into warp speed and vanished. Cheers broke out across the bridge. Later, in the med bay, Rielan sat beside Scifi, holding an ice pack to her bruised arm. Captain Adrian entered with a small grin. "I heard what you did," he said. "It wasn't much," Rielan replied. "I just helped." "You saved a life," Adrian said. "That matters to all of us." He sat across from her. "You're more than a refugee now. You're part of this crew." Rielan looked down, humbled. "I came here with nothing. I was ready to give up everything, and you gave us kindness." Adrian shook his head. "You gave us something too. Strength. Reminders of why we fight. Not for glory, for people." Scifi looked at Adrian and said, "Captain," with a shy smile. Adrian smiled back. "That's right, little one." That evening, the crew held a quiet gathering in the dining hall. There were no fancy decorations, just simple food and a few laughs. They called it a victory night. Miles Carter, the young engineer Rielan had rescued earlier, stood up and raised a mug. "I want to thank Rielan," he said. "She's not just a survivor. She's one of us now." The room clapped. Rielan was surprised. She stood slowly and spoke. "I once believed humans were monsters," she said, "that you cared only for power, but now I know better. Helped me when I had nothing. You saved my child. And today, I saw your bravery not in war, but in protection." Adrian watched her from the side, proud but quiet. Later, as the crew returned to duties, Rielan stood at the observation window again. As the stars were calm tonight, Adrian joined her. "You spoke well," he said. "I only told the truth," she replied. "You've changed minds on this ship," Adrian said, "including mine." She looked at him. "Do you really believe your leaders will allow me to stay?" Adrian was quiet. "I haven't answered yet, but if they say no, I'll fight it." Rielan touched the glass gently. "I used to dream of a place where my son could grow without fear. I thought that place didn't exist. And now?" he asked. She turned to him. "Now I think maybe it's not a place. Maybe it's a people."
Ow!
That night, in her private quarters, Rielan placed a small cloth symbol and old family crest beside her bed. It was the last thing she had from her husband, who died in the early days of the war. She whispered to it softly, "He's safe now. We both are." She then looked around the small but safe room, the humming walls of the Horizon Flame, and the quiet breath of her sleeping child. For the first time in many years, Rielan did not dream of escape. The stars outside the Horizon Flame looked peaceful, but Captain Adrian Voss knew peace never lasted long. He stood at the command center reading a new message from Earth Command. His face turned cold. "They rejected it?" asked Lieutenant Hannah Jo quietly. "Yes," Adrian replied. "They've denied Rielan's request for asylum. They say she must be handed over to the nearest neutral colony or returned to her homeworld." Hannah crossed her arms. "They know her home isn't safe." Adrian nodded. "They know. Wait. But they don't care. They want to follow the law, not justice." Rielan was in the engineering bay helping Miles Carter repair a communications relay when she heard the news. Adrian told her himself, his voice calm but honest. "They've ordered us to release you," he said. "You and Scifi." Rielan froze. "Back to the surface. There's a neutral station 3 days from here. It's under Varelian, an Earth agreement, but it's not well protected." "I've heard of that place," Rielan said. "They sell refugees to bounty hunters." They call it peace, but it's only business. Adrian didn't answer. He didn't need to. Then I can't go, Raylan said firmly. If we disobey the order, Adrian explained, they may recall. This ship removed me from command. The crew could be punished. She looked at him with sorrow. I don't want that. I never meant to destroy what you built. You didn't, he said softly. You reminded us why we built it in the first place. That night, something unexpected happened. Savvy's breathing grew heavy. His skin turned pale again. Raylan rushed him to the med bay. The doctors ran scans and found the cause of rare infection hidden deep in his lungs. The previous medicine had only slowed it down. He needs a specific cure, said Chief Medic Arya. It's called neuroxylene. But we don't have it. Where can we find it? Adrian asked. Arya checked her files. Only place nearby is a closed Varelian research facility. It's in Loyalist space. Everyone went quiet. That area is restricted, Hannah said. Guarded. If we go there, we risk war. Adrian looked at Raylan. She was holding her son, her eyes full of quiet pain. He turned to the team. We're going. The horizon. Flame couldn't enter Loyalist space without being seen. So Adrian selected a small stealth shuttle. He chose 3 crew members to go with him. To everyone's surprise, Raylan stepped forward. I'm coming, she said. Adrian shook his head. It's too dangerous. It's my son, she said. And I know the way through their scanners. I worked in that facility before the war. Adrian looked into her eyes. He knew she wouldn't take no for an answer. All right, he said. Gear up. We leave in 1 hour. The shuttle flew fast and silent. Raylan sat beside Adrian in the cockpit. She gave him directions as they passed through dangerous regions' old sensor nets, patrol paths, and hidden routes through asteroid fields. You're good at this, Adrian said. Eyes on the controls. I used to work in security systems. She replied, before everything fell apart. They landed near the edge of the facility on old mountain base carved into stone. It looked abandoned, but Raylan knew better. There are drones inside, she whispered. They'll scan for weapons and heat signatures. How do we avoid them? Adrian asked. We don't. We shut them down from the inside. The team moved quietly. We led them through old service tunnels. Twice they had to hide. From patrolling bots, at one point a door refused to open. I'll handle it, Raylan said. She placed her hand on the scanner and spoke a code in Varelian. The door clicked open. Adrian looked impressed. You're full of surprises, sighed. The lab rows of empty shelves greeted them. Dust covered everything. But Raylan knew where to look. She found the cold storage unit and scanned the vials. Neuroxylene, she whispered. There's still 1 dose left. Adrian took it carefully. Let's get out of here. But before they could move, red lights blinked across the room. Security. Breach, said a robotic voice. Lockdown in progress. Door slammed shut. Metal walls dropped behind them. Run! Adrian shouted. They moved fast, dodging drones and jumping through old vents. One crewman was injured, but Raylan helped him walk. Her old knowledge saved them again and again. Finally, they reached the shuttle and launched into space. Back. On the Horizon Flame, the medicine was given to Scifi immediately. Within hours, his fever dropped. His breathing returned to normal. Raylan stayed by his side, holding his hand. Crying softly, You brought him back, she whispered when Adrian entered. We brought him back, Adrian replied. Together. A few days later, Raylan stood on the bridge with Adrian. A new message arrived from Earth Command. Captain Voss, due to your violation of protocol, you are ordered to return to Earth for investigation. Effective immediately, your command is suspended. The crew read it in silence. Hannah turned to Adrian. What do we do now? Adrian looked at Raylan. She stood tall, her child safe, her past full of pain but her eyes strong with purpose. We follow our duty, he said. Not to orders, but to what's right. He looked at his crew. Who's with me? One by one, they nodded. That night, Raylan stood outside her quarters. Adrian joined her. You could have left me, she said. You could have kept your position. I didn't save your son to keep a title, he replied. I saved him because it was the right thing to do. She looked at him. You gave up everything. He shook his head. No, I found something better. They stood together in silence, stars shining above them, the ship quietly moving through space. For the first time, Reelan didn't feel like a refugee. She felt like part of a crew. The horizon flame floated in deep space, far from any patrol routes. Captain Adrian Voss was no longer following Earth Command orders. He had crossed a line, but one he didn't regret. The life of one mother and her child had become more important to him than all the rules and politics of the galaxy. In the days after their return from Loyalist space, the ship had gone silent. No outgoing signals, no incoming transmissions. Adrian knew they couldn't hide forever. A decision had to be made. Realen stood in the observation deck, watching the stars with her son Scifi, who now ran and laughed like any normal child. He was healthy, strong, and full of energy. The difference was clear. He was alive because one man chose to care when no one else did. Adrian joined her quietly. He's doing well. Realen smiled. It's better than I ever hoped. I still can't believe it. I can, Adrian replied. I had a reason to survive you. Looked at him, and you gave us the chance. Later that day, Adrian called a meeting with his senior crew. Around the table sat Hannah, Joe, Miles, Carter, Arya, Juno, and others who had become more than officers. They had become loyal friends. I received another message, Adrian said. Earth Command has declared me in violation of peacekeeping laws. I'm now officially suspended. They will send a replacement to take command of the Horizon Flame. Silence filled the room. They're also requesting we return Realen and Scifi to Varelian space. Adrian continued. They won't force them into Loyalist hands, but they want them out of Earth territory. Miles clenched his jaw. Everything she did? After what we risked for the boy? It's not fair, Arya said. She's one of us now. Adrian nodded. That's why I've made a choice. I will step down before they remove me. I will not let them take her. Hannah spoke softly. What will you do? Adrian looked at her. I'm going to deliver Realen and Scifi somewhere safe myself. I've been speaking to a small neutral colony, the joint station between humans and Varelian civilians who escaped the war. I've agreed to take her in. Realen, who had been listening from the hallway, stepped inside. I don't want you to give up everything for me, she said quietly. You're not making me give up anything, Adrian replied. This is my choice. A week later, the Horizon Flame arrived near the neutral colony Harmony Station. It floated above a calm blue planet, surrounded by a shield network and peaceful patrols. Human and Varelian banners flew side by side as they prepared to land. Realen walked through the ship, remembering every corridor, every face, every kindness. She visited the medbay where Scifi had first opened his eyes again. She looked at the engine room where she repaired systems with Miles. She stood once more by the window, where she had watched the stars and prayed for mercy. Then she met Adrian. At the docking bay, I never thanked you properly, she said. Not just for saving Scifi, but for saving me. You don't need to thank me, Adrian replied. You changed this ship. You reminded us what it means to care. What it means to be human, even if you're not one. She laughed softly. Maybe we're more alike than we thought. He looked at Scifi, now hugging a stuffed toy a crew member had made from scraps. Will you be all right? Adrian asked. I will, Realen said, but I wish we had more time. Adrian hesitated, then gave her a small black box. This is a come beacon, encrypted. One call, and I'll come. She took it gently, holding it close. I hope I never need to use it, she said, but I'm glad it's there. They walked down the ramp together. The people of Harmony Station welcomed Realen and her son with open arms. They gave her a new ID, a safe room, and offered her a job in their tech division. It wasn't much, but it was a future. As the sun rose above the horizon, Adrian stood at the ship's edge. Scifi ran back and gave him a hug. "Thank you, Captain," the boy whispered. Adrian bent down and smiled. "Be strong, be kind, protect your mother." "I will," the boy said proudly. Rielan stepped forward. "Where will you go now?" "I don't know," Adrian replied. "But I'll keep doing what's right, even if it's outside the law." She nodded. "Then this is not goodbye." He gave her one final look, then walked back into the ship. The ramp closed, and the horizon flame rose into the sky. Rielan watched until the ship vanished among the stars. Weeks passed. Rielan settled into her new life. She worked on satellite systems, helped build homes for new refugees, and watched Scifi play with children of all species. She found peace, not perfect, but real. One night, she sat under the stars, holding the small beacon. She hadn't pressed it, but she knew that if she ever did, somewhere across the stars, a human captain would answer, and that gave her strength. She looked up, whispering to herself, "I offered myself to save my son. I thought I had nothing left, but in return, I was given hope, honor, and a new beginning." The stars blinked gently above, and for the first time in her life, Rielan